Reverend Kelvin Walker and Mr. Ronald Johnson. And of course, Mr. Johnson, before we had our final commercial break, we were talking about the new organization, the New Beginnings organization, as well as choices and the effects. Let's have you to continue, you and Reverend Walker, to continue that conversation and to give us some information over the last 5.5 minutes that we have here related to this whole issue of African Americans and youth and incarceration. Let's do it from that perspective.
First, I would just like to just give a layout of what the statistics are in the federal system. Mm-hmm. In the federal system, we as African American really do, or in any prison system, we think that we are the majority. Mm-hmm. But according to the Federal Sentencing Commission, we are not the majority. We are right there in the middle, because we only make up 12% of this country. Mm-hmm. And only making up 12% of this country, we're about 33%, whites about 47%, and we're talking Hispanic is even higher than African American. But I just want to say that if we really want to make a change and make a difference, I think we really have to stimulate our youth. We have to stimulate their minds in processing their information.
And that can mean all of the difference in the world, the ability to be choices. That's you continue. It's the choices and the consequences. Is that what we're saying?
Absolutely. It's the consequence of our choices. We really must give thought to those consequences.
Well, Reverend Walker, what would you say in terms of bringing this issue of youth and African American youth and incarceration in front of a wider public and the ability to be able to assist the New Beginnings organization in doing this? What are some of the things that you would like to see us do?
Okay. Now, you know, we understand what the problem is, but we need to also get to the solution. And we are looking for solutions in every area dealing with the problem with our youth and drugs and all of this stuff like that. But now, inside of that prison system, there is an untouched resource right there. There are men in that prison system, in this group, New Beginning, that can play a definite and very important part in the solution to solving some of these problems dealing with teen pregnancy, gun violence, and all the other things that we're dealing with. What we're looking for the support of different agencies. We're looking for the support of the Department of Corrections to allow this particular organization to be all that God intended for this group to be, and that is to save our youth. This thing is bigger than myself. It's bigger than New Beginnings, the people in New Beginnings. It's bigger. I mean, this is something that has to be implemented, something that has to be put in place in order for us to save our youth. I mean, our young people are falling. I mean, they're falling in large and great numbers, and there is something that has definitely got to be done. We have right here an untapped resources, and it would not make any sense to bypass that resource if we're truly interested in solving the problem. So we got parents that are having problems with their youth. We got churches that are having problems. We got community centers. We got civic centers. We got all these different agencies that are witnessing the problems that we're having with our youth. We're asking for those people to back this group New Beginnings, to come out and support us so that we can expose our young people to some education and some information that will free them from gang affiliation, will free them from all the other type of things that they will find themselves captured in, and allow them to not have to go through that process by tapping into this resource that we have available to us right there inside of the prison system. Allow these men an opportunity to speak to these church groups, to these other groups, and all these other different things, groups, and allow that information to go forth so that our children can be spared the incarceration that they're headed for.
That seems to be almost a very, very inexpensive process in terms of just the number of dollars that you would have to spend to create that kind of situation, would it not be?
Absolutely inexpensive. I mean, you're looking at the gas it takes to drive a bus out there to the prison system, or to be able to hopefully get where these guys can come out into the community, you know, and to share this information. So yeah, it's definitely an inexpensive solution right there, without a doubt.
But it would have rippling effects, and it would have a tremendous effect on these young people who will have an opportunity to see which will not be a glorified camp kind of situation Is that what we're saying?
That's exactly what we're saying. We want to show them what prison life is all about, show them in relation to the choices that they made that got them incarcerated, and what prison life is really all about. These guys want to stress education, building good moral character and stuff like that. Talk to them in terms of honoring your parents and having respect for authority and all these different types of things, you know. This is what they're trying to instill in them to keep them from coming in that direction, instead of listening to their buddies that don't have the information. Put them in a setting in front of these men that do have the information. I mean, you think about it, we have labeled these people in prison as total societal rejects, but there are people in there that really have the ability, and I'm speaking of these men in this group, that have the ability to make a difference in the lives of people that are outside in what we call free world society. And we need to tap into that resource, allow these men the opportunity to give back. You know, we say we take from society, okay, here's the opportunity to allow them to give back to society. Why wouldn't we do that? Is my question. Why would we not tap into that resource that's so available to us and so less and less expensive?
Very good. And of course, let me, during this last half minute that we have here, gentlemen, thank the two of you for coming by and giving us that excellent information about African American youth and incarceration. And I think that most people will agree that if we could use this as a resource, and I think that that's what the two of you are essentially saying, that it would be possible to reach many of our youth who otherwise might be unreachable. And of course, let me thank our audience during this last few seconds for their kind attention this morning, and encourage them to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.